Distances are huge. It's going to be a long macro game. Up in the north position, tied 1-1 with his opponent from Poland. It's Acer's Nerchio.
And down to the bottom left-hand side here, spawning as our red Terran, sending his SCV out to be able to throw down that supply depot. Give it up for LGM's MVP.
This is a map where I think that it's pretty safe to say MVP is going to be going command center first every game. I would honestly be shocked if he didn't. It's the sort of map where, I mean, again, I'd love to point out that it looks like a large teddy bear, but wow, interestingly, not queuing up the SCVs as he normally does. There we go. He will be going command center first. Nerchio, who goes for his 14 hatch, would certainly not mind going for a 15 hatch, but nope. Going to stick with things all being standard in this game.
Well, I mean, it's rather interesting the thing that you say that Command Center First is going to be coming out, because on every other map, I think that the Drone Scout for Nerchio would ideally be able to block off the Command Center First, but because the distances are so long, it's not going to be able to block off this Command Center First. Yeah. So MVP playing to the map, Nerchio not really going to be able to get a whole lot done with this Drone Scout, other than probably pick away at the SCV and force one or two SCVs off to annoy it.
It's a nice timing, because the SCV that you want to pull off as Terran wants to build this barracks right here. It doesn't want to have time to come down and defend against this drone. And we see Nerchio actually whacking at the SCV first. That's kind of a surprise. But I think that Nerchio could definitely do something like what Nestea does and build a very early third hatch there.
That could be an option here for Nerchio. But again, you know, that third hatchery, we've actually seen Nerchio do very, very quick third hatcheries against Terrans in this tournament alone. And I mean, it's worked out for him pretty darn well. I mean, there's even been cases where we've seen the third hatchery go down before spawning pool against, I think it was Nestea who did it before, against MVP on this exact map, actually, now that I think about it.
If only it was on Metropolis, where we'd get the chance to see all those Seeker missiles connect yet again. But Nerchio now going for the queen play, as expected. Probably will go for the 4-queen play, but again, I like the idea of early macro hatches on this map. Dong Red Goo, very big fan of getting macro hatch before gas and this kind of thing.
Yep, and I mean, other than that, what do we have going on for MVP? He's just throwing down, it looks like he's going to throw down his factory with that first 100 gas. There we go. Getting the reactor on there as well to be able to go for that Hellion play. And to be fair, I really do like Hellion play on this map, or at least a Hellion opener, in order to be able to, you know, snake around, find a little bit of a hole in this natural. Even if there's a quick third there, it works out very well. Yeah. Because there's so much room that you have to cover here as the Zerg player. You get spread out so easily.
And I mean, by the same token, getting 4 queens at the start of this map makes total sense. You want to begin spreading the creep as much as possible. We have seen MVP get caught down with his pants down against Mutalisk play quite a lot on this map. He over-prepare, well, like all Terrans nowadays, over-prepare a bit against the Infestor style play, such as moves like this, taking this early third command center. This works amazingly well if he's going for something a little bit more passive.
Yeah, and I think that also, again, if he was to get aggressive, for example, chances are we'd have probably seen him take the base at that base with the 3 Vespene geysers. You don't need that much gas, to be honest, at the start of a game here, unless you're actually going to commit to, you know, a lot of mech. But just being able to take that and be aggressive down that attack path, it makes it really, really easy to defend your expansions while still getting that damage done.
Yeah, that through the middle aggression is so awesome. The back door, also a nice way to put pressure on the opponent, but it leaves the center so wide open. I mean, if you're going to attack through mid, you can easily take this, but this bottom right's also going to pin MVP a little bit more to that down right aggression. MVP now following it up with kind of a shockingly long-term play. Oh, he almost, if he just had an extra Zergling there, he'd be able to take out this one SCV constructing, but no big deal as we see these Hellions moving up. Nerchio will be forced to build at least some roaches to deflect them.
As this play, I mean, yes, he's keeping his opponent on the back foot with these 4 Hellions, so for now, Nerchio is going to have to commit a lot to the defense. but he's playing exceedingly greedy. I guess, again, it is to the map. He puts his third command center at location and then goes for double engineering bay.
Yeah,
all he had was one Marine about 2 minutes ago, like 1 minute ago or so.
It's pretty bold. I mean, there's a lot of builds that do crush it. For instance, just going for 6, 7, 8 roaches right at the start, sending them cross map. That would certainly give MVP a ton of trouble, but MVP would just cancel and move right along. But here's a small Zergling attack that could pose a little bit of a threat.
But indeed, there's nothing at that third location here to really be able to defend it. He is making a bunker in the back, which would have been fantastic if it had been started 30 seconds earlier, but he couldn't have known this. The Zergling's going to go to work on these SCVs, killing off a mule, and for now, we'll be able to get a few SCVs. But the bunker just barely finishes up there. Really nice to play.
A little bit of a misstep there by Nerchio. He does have the opportunity to maybe poke up into the main base, but after those 6 Hellions have been produced, it's time for the factory to become a good a good add-on builder.
Yeah.
He's just going to play a little Sim City up in the main base while MVP gets all the bigger, manlier, important upgrades. And MVP's doing a style that I would generally call a little bit older school than what we're seeing modern Terrans do, which is to just get the 3-3 army and trust in 3-3 Marines. But I think on this map, it's, again, what you need to do.
Yeah, admittedly, he is going to be at that 3-3 very quick here in comparison to Nerchio. I mean, with that double evolution chamber, not actually getting really aggressive with those upgrades just yet, whilst MVP just keeping his opponent in that defensive stance with these Hellions. But that fourth base is on the way, and for a Zerg with that rich Vespene Geyser as well as these 2 normal Vespene Geysers, that is a lot of gas.
It's going to be Hive Tech heaven. I mean,
yeah.
Zergs generally are really happy to have 8 normal geysers. That is what allows them to do these transitions from Broodlord Corruptor Infestor back to Ling Ultra and so on and so forth. But you have this extra rich geyser. It's going to be so great. The Hellions now trying to find a window to step in, but they're going to run into all the units, kill off a queen, but MVP gets shut down, and suddenly MVP has nothing to control the map with.
The creep queen indeed going down. I mean, that's not too big a deal there for Nerchio. He will be able to spread that creep once again. But then again, we already have the 4th queen out on the map anyway, so he can transfer that over to the 4th hatchery in just a little bit if he desires. And meanwhile, spreading creep at the 4th potential location and even 5th potential location here of MVP. I've never really paid much attention to this map in terms of this really, really small little expansion.
Yeah,
I completely forgot about that.
I mean, it's like a bonus expansion. It's like a consolation expansion. It's like, sorry you couldn't defend the map well enough. You get this sort of going home prize of a tiny half base. MVP's building these oddly placed bunkers and would love to just mule this expansion out. Then he can expand along the upper path where he really wants to be. There's a lot of infestors on the map. This is going to be the scariest move ever for MVP. Oh, Nerchio's going to get in position. And look at this, a stim back. Oh, this was a big misstep by Nerchio, ignoring the fact that he loses these units. He had a huge fungal he could have snapped up.
Oh, but with that scan, he had to assume that MVP was going to pull back, and the one Marine does end up stimming up there, trying to focus down that one Roach, and he gets it. Marine for a Roach, pretty good trade there for MVP.
MVP is still just chilling, and I am blown away to actually say that MVP might have 3-3 before 17 minutes. It's kind of crazy to think, and the worst possible thing for MVP's units happens. He gets absolutely everything nabbed. Medevacs get to go home and tell the story
of how those units suddenly turned green whilst being completely surrounded anyway. Wow, that was fuel to feed the fire, really. Getting that fungal growth off there, just being able to kill them quickly, able to, save some of those Zerglings.
Look at the read from, oh my God, Nerchio is all over MVP in this game.
Such an impressive play there, being able to catch that off guard as well. And right now, with that Hive morphing in, Spire going down, that 2-2 on the way for Nerchio. But again, 3-3 is going to be started very, very soon for MVP. He's already started that +3 weapons, +3 armor is going to be on the way. And with that, rising Marine count that's always going to be present for MVP, 3-3 becomes so deadly to deal with as a Zerg.
But I I don't even think MVP is going to be able to get there. Look at this huge force. The instant, oh my God, there's the sensor tower. It senses everything coming in. MVP is going to have to lift and run. This whole force is coming in, but Nerchio is going to get the big kills.
Hold position on those Zerglings. A few of them will get killed off. He did get 1 or 2 SCV kills in the process there. Meanwhile, one Infestor going forwards, burrowed. He's going to throw probably some eggs down on here. But actually, drops the scan and is able to kill that off. Kind of a lucky break there for MVP.
Now we see Nerchio just going on expanding crazy mode. He's going to take all these opposite-ended maps. Center MVP still hasn't been able to land as the creep has only just receded. MVP has gone into late game mode, starting to add on more Marauders. 3-3 en route. It looks like it will not quite be done by 17, but shortly thereafter. Still stupidly, ridiculously early as Zerg's now just starting 3-2 for himself.
The Zerglings trying to come back here to deal with this, but this is not the attack path that Nerchio wants to be taking. He wants to actually fall back to the safety of that third base. But again, actually, he needs to be able to secure this area, because once the siege starts going up, and there he's even dropping in that 4th location right now, throwing down some infested terrorists to try and clean this up, but that's a lot of bio.
MVP has almost no units. It's amazing to me that he's been able to pull this off. He does get 1 of those medevacs, but with these well-positioned tanks here and all these tanks rallied over here, MVP has all his bases covered. There he has his starport, now finally able to start churning out some Vikings. 2 more starports at his natural, and it looks like another nice fungal growth.
And 9 Broodlords morphing in for Nerchio right now. And currently there's actually, well, there's 2 Vikings are in production, and he's adding on 2 more starports as well. So this is perfect.
Oh, Nerchio pauses the game.
By MVP. But yeah.
We don't know why. Nerchio, his monitor went off, but he says it's okay now.
Okay.
Instant reaction, he says, go-go's, we're going to be go-going. It looks like MVP says go-go in all caps lock. He's ready to go. So the match has come back, and MVP now has the control over the center watchtower.
So let's
we
jump
see
back
these
to the game.
9 Broodlords now moving forward.
Yeah, he will be able to push forwards here. Adrenal glands on the way, as well as a load of Zerglings being added on to be able to bolster this force. Right now, going to be able to hit a lot of these siege tanks with the Broodlings, get a nice surround on them as well to be able to nibble away at them. And MVP here is going to lose a lot of siege tanks for completely free, Sean.
Oh my God, losing all these siege tanks is going to make it so difficult to control against all these various counterattacks that Nerchio loves to do. Top base. Looks like MVP wants to try to threaten this, but oh my God, Zerg's going to be surrounding with everything. Nerchio's completely prepared.
He actually pulls back there, gets a nice fungal growth and a lot of that. There's actually only 1 medevac here, so it's going to be so hard to heal this bio up. Meanwhile, we have a little bit of a drop in the 4th location here of Nerchio, and he pushes in against this force and absolutely tears it apart.
Just decimating it. There we see a small force of Marine Marauder also trying to join, but somehow Nerchio's able to answer and kill off some of this dropping action. And now that we see some Vikings on the screen, Nerchio's decided that it is time to go, and is heading down to the center rich field for MVP.
Yeah, very scared for this base right now. And again, the architecture works quite nicely here in Nerchio's favor. He won't be able to really kind of circumvent the architecture if he actually sieges over the ravine, but he's going to come around to the side here to be able to catch some Vikings with fungals if they end up straying into range. And indeed, they are going to do. Starting to work on those Broodlords, but the Infestors, they're on the way.
Oh, the Zerglings are just going to run right up to the planetary fortress, but the reaction is very swift from MVP. Instantly tries to wrap around, but no, it looks like not going to be enough. The planetary fortress falls. Vikings everywhere on the map. Fungals landing at the north side, Marine Marauder, and at the south side, more Marine Marauder, picking off everything, but Nerchio just seems to have an endless amount of Zerglings.
This is what MVP does. It's despite you killing a base, I am always going to take a base or 2 bases off of you whilst that's going on, but he's still in a lot of trouble. Having been relegated to this 3 base now and having a lot of SCVs killed off in the 3rd as well means that it's going to be a bit tricky here for MVP to establish an economy, but actually, now that I'm looking at it, there's only 3 bases up and running for Nerchio.
Yeah, both players have been battered down to 3 bases. These 2 Marauders will kill off the Queen because they have that +3 armor, and the Queen's dealing basically no damage to them. MVP continuing to drop these bases around, but there are a pair of Corruptors here that would love to kill off this medevac if only they were given instructions. And there they go. The target fire from MVP, who is just so on point, I can't believe it.
Marines breaking this expansion once again. Ultralisk transition is on the way, and he will be able to fend off this medevac for now. other than that, Zergling's just chasing down a few SCVs at this 4th location for MVP, and he's going to be able to get quite a few kills here.
Some crazy exchanging going on, but now Nerchio needs to just secure the center, and this seems like a little bit of a late play, an Ultralisk Cavern going down now for Nerchio in his main, and his 3rd, where is it? There it is. This seems quite late, doesn't it, Killars? He should have almost had that up already.
Yeah, it's difficult to actually... I mean, given how this game has progressed, it's so difficult at this point in time to be able to continually actually establish this. Missile turret trying to go up here. Nerchio unborrows just a few links to be able to stop that from happening, so he will constantly have to waste that scam against this, despite thinking that, well, hey, the borrowed threat must have gone. He must have unborrowed all of them to be able to actually kill off that missile turret.
Oh, MVP going for the ever so famous double Raven tech. There's the Corvid reactor, the Seeker missile. Maximum corruptors on the field for Nerchio. Needs to be able to pick off those Vikings, even though he doesn't have any of those Broodlords yet.
And in a similar vein to what we saw against NST, if he keeps these Ravens hidden against Nerchio for a good portion of the game, it's going to get a bit tricky for Nerchio going into those engagements now. For now, we will have Nerchio swinging around to the backside here with a lot of Zerglings looking to put a counter on this 3rd base. And actually, this could do quite a bit of damage in itself.
Oh, this is going to be brutal, and it looks like MVP realizes and is sending everything back. An unsieged tank gets gobbled up almost immediately, and there's the stim run down to that back bunker placement, but Nerchio continues to overrun.
40 workers, 42 workers killed off. Oh my god, the count just keeps rising.
Oh my god, 46 workers killed by Nerchio in that big counterattack. And he sees the Raven.
Yeah, oh, what a lovely little scout out there. A little bit of luck involved in that, of course, as the Raven did move out to that location. But, you know, with those Zerglings, very nice to be able to actually even keep some of them alive whilst doing so much of that damage.
Well, interestingly, both players are actually kind of out of workers. Or out of bases. Terran doesn't have a natural. His 3rd's just been decimated.
No. Look at the income for MVP right now. That's a sorry sight here.
Oh. Some of the most dangerous exchanges going on this top side of the map. Nerchio basically running on 3 bases, getting a 4th base up, long-range mining from the center, but needs to get into a comfortable position.
Yeah, it's looking a bit scary for MVP once again. Those Hunter Seeker missiles need to be very, very potent here. MVP at this point, he needs to actually connect with a lot of those infestors.
God. Oh, the infestors in a good position, but no, the Ravens move over at just the right time to be able to spot everything.
MVP currently looking at the 146 supply, whilst Nerchio at 192. Both players basically maxed out here. Another drop, limiting how much of an income Nerchio can actually have. And will end up getting fended off for now, but again, MVP constantly limiting Nerchio in terms of that income.
God, we saw briefly that army tab was up there on the screen, and it's 158 for MVP because he actually just doesn't have any workers. He's at 38. Nerchio's deciding that now's not quite the time. He does have these Broodlords in production. He just threw down a couple of infested Terrans just to get a scout on how many tanks were there.
Ravens accumulating a lot of energy. 2 more on the way in just a little bit. And again, this is a little bit of everything for Nerchio here with that 6 Broodlords, 6 Ultralisks, and so many infestors mixed in. And I don't know if he should be pushing into this spot.
Oh, there's the engagement. We see the Seeker missiles do go down and annihilate the Broodlords instantly. Nerchio decides to run into the fray. Ultralisks and infested Terrans leading, but MVP's food is just not dwindling. Acer Nerchio, though, has managed to find some money fungal placement to be able to step forward into this engagement. But where did this Marine Marauder pack come from? Oh, MVP drops the Manor Mule.
Does. We have 72 more Zerglings in production, so not only did he find money elsewhere, he found it there. And right now, look at this, MVP killed off the 3rd base as well. It's almost mined down, but again, this is going to limit the amount of lava he has, and he only has 7 lava to be able to replenish against this. He's swinging in once again, getting a lot of good surface area on that bio. The Ultralisk cleaving away. It's not actually dying off itself either, but there's so much firepower here for MVP.
Too many medevacs healing everything, and it looks like MVP will just not. He finally barely loses this. What a series of exchanges, and GG from Acer's Nerchio.
There's been so many engagements like that during this tournament, like one Ultralisk and 3 Zerglings nibbling away at one Marine and one Marauder, being healed constantly by Medivacs. Just, this tournament thus far, Sean, has been phenomenal. So many close series. This in itself is getting down to the wire. MVP and Nurture looking so comparably strong.
Yeah.
But MVP drops everywhere. He's just in every single spot on the map at once.
I mean, the only way I can describe it is the longer the game goes on, the higher the chances of MVP winning.
Yeah.
I mean, Mech in game number 2, after a huge flood, pulls it together. Then on Atlantis Spaceship, you generally think that the Zerg is most comfortable on the big maps. You have counterattacks. Zerg can use Mutalisk, drops, expand on all sorts of angles. But MVP somehow is really good on these huge maps. And it was that Bio-Raven composition that just smacked down Nurchio's all-hive mixture.
Yep, so Nurchio here, 1 game away from defeat.